The program. Joining me right now is Comrade Issa Aremu, Vice President, Industrial Global Union. He's joining me from Kaduna. Comrade Aremu, good morning to you and welcome to the program.
Yeah, good morning, Nancy, and let me say belated Happy May Day and to all your viewers also.
Okay. Okay, Comrade, can you hear me?
I'm hearing you very
Okay,
well.
okay.
Yeah,
Welcome to the program.
I said happy belated May Day to you and the viewers. Better
Yes.
late than never.
Better late than never. Yes, we're discussing it as the country, the president eased partially. I would say it's like a soft kind of lockdown we're still in. Isn't the lockdown? Let me get your views about what's been happening, at least in Nigeria, in the last 1 month. We've been on a lockdown, at least here in Abuja, Lagos, and Ogun State. I also know that the governor of Lagos State has it's also coming up with new guidelines. Speak to me about your own views about what's been happening in the last 1 month and how we've been responding to the coronavirus pandemic.
What? Thank you, Nancy. My view will not be different from the reality which we are all living with. The fact of the facts are clear that we are really, like all parts of the world, we are living in a condition of amazing threat to lives and livelihood as a result of the pandemic COVID-19. And you know the numbers are on the increase worldwide. We are almost approaching close to 4 million mark, and Nigeria too, with the numbers are also climbing. You know, the rate of deaths are also increasing, even though happily we have some good number of recoveries. So, I mean, Nancy, if you ask me, my view is that never before have we witnessed this kind of direct threat to lives, you know, and as well as economic well-being, you know, of all Nigerians. Again, the one that is of immediate interest to me, as you introduced me as a labor leader, is that this is the first time in the past 130 years that we are going to be organizing the May Day in a condition of a lockdown globally. Don't forget that the observance of May Day started as far back as 1886. Yeah. You know, and in Nigeria, it's close to about 40 years now. We started marking it in 1980 when the PRP government in Kaduna and Kano declared May Day a public holiday, and President Shagari a year out in 1981 made it a national holiday. I mean, my 33 years of trade union career, this is the first time that I have to do virtual May Day, online May Day. I mean, the whole idea of collective solidarity, of us coming around to celebrate the dignity of labor, both the employers, government, and labor, you know what it used to be at the Good Square with Nigeria Labour Congress, Trade Union Congress, you know. I mean, it's like a mirage that this year we just simply go out because we couldn't go out, not just in Nigeria, South Africa, in Brazil, in Europe. So I'm saying that we are really in a dire situation, you know, globally and as well as Nigeria. I know also believe that the lockdown globally is affecting close to 2.7 billion workers worldwide, almost 81% of the workforce, with direct threats to jobs. You know, of course, if production doesn't take place, you know, there is also direct threat to the jobs of the working people. So what I'm saying is that my view cannot be different from what the facts are globally. And I think it's also interesting that we are seeing a lot of gradual easing. As you said, Lagos has opened up today, and also Abuja. With all the challenges that go with them, I've been following your medium too, to see how they will maintain social distancing, physical distancing, you know, for workers who are going to work in a condition of very poor public transport. You know, again, this has also exposed our gross underdevelopment that in basic infrastructure like transportation, the health facilities, they are just we are not yet there at all. You know, so I want to say that the reality is that it's we are really completely in a very difficult situation. But I also believe that we can turn this difficult situation to opportunities to make a change, just like the way the CBN governor put it, turning tragedy to opportunities. Because we have really witnessed real tragedies. Health workers, many of them have died, nurses, doctors, those who are supposed to protect us are also vulnerable. So I think this is the time for us to revisit and go back to the basics. We'll come back to the development agenda, So in summary, I think the realities confront all of us, and I think my view cannot be different from what the realities are.
Now, if you take a look at since May Day came into being, since the history, you said it, 1886 in the 19th century, when people started agitating for perhaps maximum working hours, about 8 hours, and labor rights. Since now, these are COVID times. We are living in a COVID pandemic time. Just like you said, we've never seen this kind of thing in history. Do you think that work would assume a different meaning from now?
Yes, I think first the key word is work. Pre-COVID-19 and now under the COVID-19 and post-COVID-19, work is still very, very relevant. In fact, what the COVID-19 has shown is to emphasize the importance of labor as a critical factor of production. We've also seen that labor doesn't just produce, labor doesn't just create wealth, but labor also protects lives. And you can see that more than ever before, the only critical factor that everybody is talking about under this condition is human workforce, which include the frontline workers, the doctors, the nurses, the medical workers, the security officers, delivery workers, including media people like you. These are the key drivers of attempt to protect lives now. So more than ever before, I think labor is still very, very important, and work is important. But as you said, it's about how do we now address work. I've told you that this is the first time I had to organize a virtual media, online media, and very interesting. But as we say, if it is not like it, it's not like it. A good media would have been through collective mobilization, and fraternizing, comradeship with workers worldwide. But we couldn't do that one. But nonetheless, we still marked it, as the case may be. And you also know that whether it's going to be house working, e-working, or outdoor working, work is work. So I think more than ever before, labor is very, very critical. And that's why, Nancy, I'm a bit worried. That's why we're moving to the new normal, as they put it now. We should not return to the same old abnormalities, of the past. I just listened to your background report, and I was so happy that Central Bank of Nigeria, under Governor Emefiele, had issued a statement that no worker should be, retrenched within the banking sector under this condition. And for me, that's very refreshing, because we shouldn't return to the old abnormalities in which every crisis situation, you put the burden on the workforce. I think what we have seen under this condition of COVID is that labor is important. We need to protect lives and livelihood. And I'm disappointed that some key bankers who are already contributing to national recovery efforts, they are the ones saying they want to do away with security officials, tellers, in an attempt to save costs. No, I don't think this is the way. We are not learning any lesson from this COVID.
Okay.
If we are learning any lesson, that we need solidarity economics to carry all of us together, and that we should protect lives and livelihoods. And I think CBN put it better. We can get a lot of new opportunities under this tragic situation, but not to compound it by firing workers and deny them their basic means of livelihood. In fact, on the contrary, the view is that this is the time to employ more hands.
Comrade, let me come in there a bit, and let me play the devil's advocate, because for businesses, they're also looking at their bottom lines. COVID-19 has exposed a lot of challenges for businesses. A lot of people now will lose their jobs definitely because the companies are not making money. How much trade-off should happen between, I'm not just even talking about the banks because it's the banks we've heard of. How about some other companies or not even as big as the banks, but are laying off their workers right now because they can't even keep them because there's no money? How should that trade-off happen? Would you keep those that you can't pay?
No, Nasi, I think I learned some few concepts from you. You are doing a very wonderful job on your program. You are the one who have, promoted the whole idea of the new normal. It's not the old way of handling things. The new normal means that we cannot be talking of trade-offs. We have to talk of win-win situation for everybody. I personally, I'm already converted. I'm from private sector. I used to be in the private sector in textile. I'm clear that businesses are under stress. There's no doubt about that. I'm concerned that, they've not been producing within this period. But you must also deny that workers are even far more stressed out. They want to work, they couldn't work, not due to their fault, but because of the pandemic that we have at hand. In any case, how many workers are even working before? We're already underperforming, capacity utilization is very low. So what I want us to do is that let's bring the issues to the table. And that's what I agree that the ILO says that no easy answer. All we need to do is engage in dialogue and look at what the issues are. And I'm happy that under the condition of COVID-19, it is clear that we now know that after Almighty God, our only protector is our government. And I'm happy with a lot of activism now on the part of government, stimulus plan, almost about 2 trillion naira now have been mobilized, even though that's still talking, but this is the trend worldwide, that government is now rescuing both business and labor. I had a lot of initiatives by CBN monetary authorities to say that they will back up businesses. They've reduced the interest rate, for medium and small enterprises. There are a lot of also new funds that have been made available for those who want to start new businesses. Now, if government is already showing support for businesses, then the least the business can do is to also carry labor along. And I think this is the way we should go. And President Muhammad Buhari also said it to say that under this condition, no worker should lose job. No worker should be denied his or her pay. And I'm very sure some state government also follow along the same line. The minister also made it very emphatic. So I don't want us to use the condition of the crisis to return back to the old way of doing things. That will not help anybody. I think we need to, the way for recovery from Nigeria, not even recovery, even for now, for survival, is to make sure we induce effective demand, to make sure that, and there can be demand if workers are not working. And if workers are working, you don't pay them, there can be effective demand to buy goods and services that will turn the economy around. So this is the time for us to be talking of attempt towards more jobs. In fact, to talk of full employment. And all of us have to be on the table to get this done. So this is not the time for hire and firing and trade-off. It's the time for solidarity economics, in which business must return back to work. And I'm happy Nigerian Employers Consultative Association, Manufacturer Association, they are all doing the best to now return back to work in a gradual manner, because don't also forget that the lesson of this is that we can't choose one or the other. We need lives and livelihood.
Okay.
So as workers are returning, you have to make sure they are well protected, but we must also carry out production. And as we are doing so, you need workers to do so. And I think we need more hands. And there are new economies emerging now. There are new things that we need to produce. You are talking of environmental issues, the need to keep the environment clean, and I'm happy federal government is talking of 1,000 jobs in each local government. So private sector should key into this. Not that they will now be talking of profit at all costs at the expense of jobs. I think this is the time for more jobs and better paid jobs, more motivation.
Okay, yeah. Comrade, let me come in here. Since you're talking about more jobs and workers, do you think as a labor leader that labor and workers are ready for the new normal, the new reality that is facing us right now? For those of you that are labor leaders, May Day or Labor Day or International Workers' Day, however you put it, it's a day to call forth for that you know, solidarity amongst us as workers and all of that. In fact, that day I was actually saying, Mayday, you know, Mayday is an emergency response. Mayday, 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 Mayday. That workers should be telling themselves that Mayday, 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 save us, save us. It's an emergency response. So are workers ready for the new normal that has faced us right now? Are they ready? Because however you look at it, a lot of things will change. Are you ready for the new work that will start emerging? However you look at it, comrade, I understand, and I appreciate that you said that you learned a lot from me. Thank you very much. That shows I'm teaching. But yes, but the thing is that a lot of people would also lose their jobs. However you look at it, not just in Nigeria, but globally. So are workers ready to face the new reality?
No, what I want to say is that when we say workers, workers also include you. You are a working comrade. If you do, I'm not sure whether you live on minimum wage, maybe you live on maximum pay, but everybody lives on this labor. It's a worker. And I think the only asset the poor people have is their labor power. That's the only asset. So the only way we can get out of poverty for the poor is for them to sell their labor power. And they can't sell it if they are not employed, if they are not given jobs. So I think I absolutely appreciate what you are saying, that everybody, including business, are under stress. But we have to have a new thinking. The new thinking is that let's turn this reality to a new challenge, to create more jobs, to be more creative, not to take the least resistance, the same old lazy way, pass on the calls, retrench, throw away labor. No. And also labor must also change. I'm happy you are talking of the new normal. When you see us during the May Day, I mean that's not the way comrades used to be. We have to cover our nose for survivor. The new normal is that labor too must have a new method now to engage in dialogue. We must also have the commitment that we need to be productive. No worker should hardly pay if he's not productive or she's not productive. And then we also need the new labor that was smart, that will be able to engage in new challenges, but also requires training for the workers, training and retraining. You need to motivate them very well. So I think labor is more than prepared for that. We are already in that, we are used to that method of dialogue, of social engagement. And I think that's the point I'm raising, that it's important that through is a dialogue. And I think I've actually called for it, that we need to revive the tripartite Labor Advisory Council, in which business will be there, government will be there, labor will be there, so that we look at what the issues are. And I have no doubt in my mind that what the new challenge means that we must really have a creative way to get things done. Let me give you a practical example. I'm also a member of the National Wages Commission. I'm a labor representative there, and I was so happy that the Wages Commission have to creatively come out in a very proactive way to allow for increase in the allowances of the health workers. We don't need to wait for general wage review to do that, because they are the frontline workers who need to be protected. That's the way it should go. But we also know that those health workers, they are the ones facing the risk. Some of them have even died. They've also brought in new insurance scheme for them. I'm happy some states are also following that on like line. So what I am saying here is that for every motivation you give the workforce must also have a part to say that we must be productive. And this way, talking of labor, I don't know what the details are now, but my impression is that academic staff, I hope they have resumed. We can't have the old way of strike before even the now pandemic strike. Yeah, the whole world is teaching. Teaching is going on worldwide. Nigeria University cannot be the same way in which academic staff and permanent, strike of attrition.
Let me come in there, because yes. I just have like 2 minutes or so with you before we end this session. So let me just ask my questions in a sprint way, not a marathon. At least in the last 1 month, speak to me about how labor has been engaging perhaps businesses and the government, because the reality is staring us right now in the face. There was this also announcement, I think, from the Minister of Finance about the Onrosoye report. The federal government will be looking at that. I don't know, as labor leaders, if you're also looking at that, because if government would go ahead with that, how would government go ahead with that with your own analysis, not letting a lot of people off work? That's the second part of the question. The third part of the question is indeed increasing productivity among workers, among workers in Nigeria, public, civil servants and all of that. We're seeing what's happening, I think, from level 14 will resume today. How do we ensure that there is productivity? Because Nigerian workers have not been productive in the last few years, or at least since I know. And now, how do you also begin to engage beyond a luta continua, solidarity forever? It's not like that again. So you need to also come up with innovative ways to be able to engage beyond a luta continua. Solidarity forever, it's like, it don't pass them. Let me put that way.
Well, I think this is even the time we need more solidarity. Solidarity to be able to promote awareness about the danger of this pandemic. People should maintain hygiene. We need solidarity to make sure that we support those who are infected. We don't need to stigmatize them. And then, as I said, we need solidarity policies that will defend livelihoods. And I think, Nancy, we can't just say that Nigerian workers are not productive. Nancy, you are productive. We are productive under very difficult conditions. President Muhammad Buhari, in his remark, has singled out the medical health workers, for recognition, for their productive effort to save lives under these conditions. We can't deny those transporters who are still bringing goods under these conditions. Those workers in the informal sector, most of them who are women, who are bringing goods from the rural areas for us to buy in the city, food stuff, being harassed by police. I think Nigerian workers are productive, but we could be more productive if other factors are put in place. I absolutely agree with you. And I think for your first question, it's clear Labour has been engaging very well, especially in the private sector. We have the collective bargaining agreement system for which we must be able to address issues like this. There have been a series of crises, although not of this magnitude. And the bottom line is that we need to discuss what are the terms of payment. Some unions have turned even the compulsory closure to leave for some who are due for their leaves. We also know the many unions who are already trying to review, the schedule of work so that we also go with the new work arrangement, like in Lagos now. With the best of effort, workers will resume 8 o'clock, only to close at 3 o'clock. That will change the nature of work. But the key word is that union will engage with management to find out how do they stagger production in a way that we keep on producing. Because if nothing is produced, nothing can be sold. And if nothing is sold, there can't be anything paid to the workers. So workers are also clear that they have stake in the survival of the enterprise. Only that the enterprise must also do the best to make sure that we have similar stake.
Okay, comrade, the question of Orosoye report and also minimum wage moving forward, because all price has crashed. Government may not have the money to pay minimum wage moving forward. Do you understand what I'm saying? So how does government meet that minimum wage and Orosoye report?
Let me take the Orosoye report, and I think that's the problem. It has been a long-drawn issue. But you don't, in the condition of pandemic, carry out a shock therapy reform. Why the hurry? Orosoye report, it has always been there. I have no doubt in my mind that we need to harmonize some of the MDAs and public enterprises, but this is not the time that you really want to have meaningful discussions with all the stakeholders. There's restriction of movement, so we can't get the best results out of it. But any reform we carry out, reform should expand delivery of services. And if you want to expand delivery of services, you must create more jobs. You must protect the existing job. You need more training, not less. In fact, let me tell you, Nancy, my view is that there are new agencies, given the crisis we have now, that need to be retooled and be put in place. If you are going to combat the environmental challenges, the health challenges, I think we need to strengthen the agencies more. Some of the agencies dealing with environment, with hygiene, with health. Not that you just disband them and then you have those workers to go on. So again, the new normal doesn't mean we should return to the old way. Then on the minimum wage, I agree with you. The parameters seem to have changed, because we know the fall in the price of oil. It has affected the budget, and also, but it's not one or the other. In any case, what was the minimum wage before? Nancy, it wasn't a living wage. It wasn't a living wage. Labour did a lot of compromise to arrive at this 30,000 minimum wage. Ideally, under good condition, we should even increase salary more, because the only way people will get out of, we are talking of livelihood before, we are talking of life now. So it's double jeopardy. You need income to back it up. So all I'm saying here is that I think the new arrangement, the new economics, let me put it that way, the revenue figure which has collapsed, that doesn't mean that we need to or adversely, undermine the pay of the working people, which is already low anyway. I would rather suggest that let's look at the table, the basket as a whole. As I'm talking to you, the allocation to the National Assembly is still intact. Nobody has touched it. They are even taking delivery, legislature has taken delivery of vehicles under this condition. At the time, we are looking for money for sanitizers, for nose masks, for the ordinary people, payment of salary. So even at $18 per barrel, Nancy, this is still not a poor country. Because some countries don't have oil, they don't have crude oil. Yet they are taking care of their members. I think what we need to do is to readjust and look at allocation of resources, make sure we allocate to the greatest number of our people to meet their needs, not the greed of the few people, especially the political class, who still employ more unnecessary ants, overload the overhead, also political jobbers who are not adding value. I think this is the time for real solidarity economics. I think I have to be consistent with that, in which it's not a trade-off. It has to be win-win for everybody.
Okay.
And if you cannot increase the pay of the workers now, you dare not touch what they already have in place.
Okay.
Because this is the time to protect their lives and also their livelihood. And it's also good economics, Nancy. The only way you revive this economy is to make sure there's effective demand. There can't be effective demand if people are not well paid.
Okay, I think we'll leave it at that.
Workers should even get conditional transfers.
I think we'll leave it at that.
I'm relieved.
I think we'll leave it at that, comrade. Let's see how things pan out, and we'll talk in some weeks' time, perhaps, and see how.
Absolutely.
Yes, but I agree with you that at this point in time, the kind of conversation we should be having right now should be high-level conversation, and I'm not saying that.
Monologue.
Yes, across board. I don't know why the ministers are not meeting with the president, even if it's virtually or so. I know the VP is meeting with the Economic Sustainability Committee and the EAC. But this is a time we should have high-level conversation, putting everything into perspectives to save lives and livelihoods. And take a look at the parameters. We've eased lockdown today. Who is watching what will happen? What strategies do we need to make if things like this escalate? Those are the kind of conversations we should be having.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that's what we say was we need policy dialogue, not policy monologue.
Okay.
Look at the case of 25% in deduction of pay workers in Kaduna. My very good friend Governor Rufai is doing a good job, but on labor issues, he has to really engage in proper dialogue.
Okay, well. I think we'll leave it at that, comrade.
I don't think you need to deduct pay without
because I have another interview, so I'll talk to you again. Thank you very much for speaking with me this morning.